היום ט"ו בסיוון תשפ"ד, ה-21 ליוני 2024. אני מראיינת את מר ז'אק סיקרסקי, שנולד בפריז בשנת 1932. העדות איתו מתקיימת מטעם יד ושם, ותהיה בשפה האנגלית, ושמי שרון רפפורט. בנוסף לג'אק יושבת לצידו ורה סיקרסקי, שהיא גיסתו של ג'אק, שהיא תעזור לנו מבחינת השפה במסגרת הרעיון. So, good morning, and thank you for your willingness to take part in this project. Could you please tell me your name from birth? What was the name your parents gave you? Your name?
Yaakov, Jacques.
And your surname?
Siekierski.
What's your date of birth?
11 October 1932.
And where were you born?
In Paris.
Your name, were you named after someone from the family?
It's from my grandfather, from the side of my mother.
Do you know a bit about your family history?
Not really. I know some uncles. Before the war, from my father's side, I don't know anything. From Siekierski. From my mother, I know something. There was 8 children. 4 of them went to Colombia. 3 went to Brazil. And I do nothing about the number 8.
But your parents, were they where were they born, your parents?
In Poland, in Warsaw. My mother in Warsaw, my father in Lodz.
And do you know what were their parents' occupations? How did they live there?
My father was...
No, your grandparents' occupations.
My grandparent, I think there was in bakery. My grandparent was a rabbin.
From what side? What are we talking about?
My mother's side.
What was her name, your mother's side? What was her maiden name?
I think it's Yaakov.
Yaakov, and her surname?
Shapiro.
And they were rabbis?
My grandfather was a rabbi, and he has a bakery also. So rabbi was not making any money to survive, so he was baker. So my family, my uncles, they went in Colombia, 4 of them.
But later on, after the war?
No, before the war.
Before the war? Between the world wars?
World I and World II. They went in Colombia, 4 of them. What's happened? 4 bakery. Really.
But why did they decide to go to Colombia?
Why they decide to go to the States, or why they decide to go to Argentina? They went to Brazil. Colombia, 4 of them, and 3 sisters in Brazil. And I do not know what happened with the number 8.
So your parents, do they live in Poland after they marry? Do they live in Poland in the beginning, your parents?
In the beginning, they live in Poland. In the very beginning.
And where in Poland?
In Warsaw. But in the very beginning, my mother went in France. Well, they got married. They live in, I suppose they got married in around 1923 or 4, because my older brother was born in 1925.
What was the name of your older brother?
Zelik. And they went in France, I am not sure, but in I guess in 1927, 28.
Why did they leave Poland?
Because anti-Semitism, because was very poor in Poland, because many of Jews left Poland at that time.
Did they have they leave Poland and they go to Paris? To where do they go? From Poland, where do they go to?
They went to France, my mother.
France?
Paris.
To Paris, okay. And in Paris, we're talking about from 27. Do they have more children?
Oh yeah. No, when they went in France, it was only my older brother, Zelik, who was born in Warsaw. And when they went in France, I had a sister who died. I don't know where she was born, in Poland or in Paris.
Do you remember her name?
No.
Okay.
You remember?
They think it was Roise.
I think it's Roise. I think so.
At what age did she die?
Very young, I don't know, 1 or 2 years.
Okay. And who else? And then after Rose, who else?
Me.
You?
1932. And then another brother in 1935,
Who? What's his name?
Leon. And then in 1937, Bernard. And then in 1941, André. And then in 1944, Huguette, the only one girl.
Okay. Now I would like to talk about when you are your early age, till you are 8. Okay, that's till World War. I want to know first, what did your father do?
He was chemisier, how did you can say that? Let's say a tailor.
A sort of tailor. He made men's shirts. In those days, shirts were handmade. Changed, the collars and the cuffs.
And where did you live in Paris? In what arrondissement?
When the first address, I do not remember. I know more or less, but I do not remember the names. Then they live, we live, I remember more or less, in a very Boulevard Magenta.
In what?
Des 10.
In the 10th.
10th arrondissement.
And was it a Jewish area?
No. No. And further they come, they was living in a Jewish area.
What was the Jewish area in the 30s in Paris?
The most famous, but my brother, they was not living there, is Rue des Rosiers, a very famous.
In the Marais?
Marais
No?
was not, no.
Okay.
The Marais is an isle kind of isle. No, there was, they call the Pletzel. Pletzel was Rue des Rosiers, the most famous street in.
So, your mother, what did she do? Your mother, did she work? Your mother,
My mother,
did she work?
she was not working.
She wasn't working. Now, in your family, what languages did you speak? Your parents?
Depend. Between them, us not to understand Polish. But mostly it was Yiddish.
And what about French?
They never learned really good French. They was talking in Yiddish all the time with family, with neighbor, with everyone.
Were your family religious, your parents? Were they religious?
No, just for the big dates. Yom Kippur, I remember.
Did you go to the synagogue?
My father go to synagogue for the big dates. Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah.
And in the late 30s, were they Zionists? Did they talk about going to Palestine? Were they Zionists?
No. I do not remember that they talk about Palestine. Well, I was 8, 9 years old, so I...
Of course. Now, did you eat kosher at home?
No.
No. So you were part of the society?
No, but we do not eat certain meat like jambon. Did you say
No, jambon I know also, you see. You don't eat jambon. I know.
We do not, I remember that we do not those kind of things.
But
Because it was not kosher.
But in regards to the culture at home, your home, what was the culture that you grew up
Yiddish.
in?
Yiddish. They talk all the day in Yiddish.
So your mother used to talk Yiddish and sing songs in Yiddish? Everything in Yiddish?
Well, they do not sing, but...
They did.
Well, they was talking Yiddish, and obviously we was talking in French.
Were they well off?
Hmm?
Well off? Were they rich, the family?
Rich.
Your parents, were they rich, well off?
No, they were not rich.
They were not
They were
rich.
poor, I can say.
What school, when you start school, where do you
In
go to
Paris.
school? You go to a Jewish school or you
No,
go?
no, to a regular school, French school.
In what area?
I remember it was not far from where we was living.
And before we go on, would you like to say a few words about your brother, Zelig, and do you want to say something about your brothers, about Leon and about Bernard? Because André was born later, that's why. Would you like to say a few words about them as children?
Well, I remember my older brother. My mother, my parents, want to make from all of us doctors or lawyers or whatever. But no one of us reached it. So it was a big deception for my mother and my father. I remember that my older brother was trying to talk violin. This is, I remember.
They were happy.
Well, he really do not play. My mother want him to make from him a big musician, but no success.
But he was older. Okay, now when you're at school, does anyone talk about what is happening in Germany? Because when you are at school, Hitler is basing his, before 1939, but from 1933 actually, Hitler is in Germany and the Nazi...
I do not remember if maybe my parents was talking between them, but I was
but I'm talking...
5, 6 years old, so I do not remember.
Okay. Did your parents at home, did they talk about what happened in World War I?
No, I do not remember that. If they talk, I do not remember.
So when do you first understand that your life is changing? What happens that you understand that you're alive?
I will say during the war. During the war.
How does a child your age know that the war has started?
Because we was running from the Germans, from the.
But I'm
So-
asking, when do you first understand that there is a war? Where are you?
During the war.
But what happens? Where are you? Are you at school?
I was
Are you at
well.
home?
Because they spread us, all of us. One was here, the other one there. I went to farmers.
Okay, so
Sorry.
let's go slowly in that. So there's the war, and then your parents together decide to leave Paris. Do you remember this moment when you decide to
I
leave?
remember that we was on a train. It was no place to sit. Everyone, I was on the corridor, and German entering into Paris, and the rest of the people going south.
Do you remember when the Germans entered Paris? Did you see it in your eyes?
I do not see them in their eyes, but when we leave Paris, I know that they was entering Paris at the same time. It was in 39, I think, or 40, 39 or beginning 40. I remember that I was in the train, it was clouded. I remember I was looking on the road, the tracks and horses and people in cars with luggage on the top of the car. This is, I more or less remember that I was seeing that.
So you were 4 children and the parents were running away together?
We was
When you leave
no,
Paris?
No, 4 children. We was yes, 4 children. We live in, I think it was in early 40.
It was, you're right. Historically, you're right. So you leave from the train. You have any more? Maybe you.
And this is I remember. Then we went. I think we were. I don't know why. My parents went to Corrèze. Corrèze is a region, and the city is Tulle. I don't know what the reason that we went there.
Now, Toul at that time, in 1940, in what way is it different than Paris? Do you remember something from Toul?
Tulle is a very small city. Paris, I don't know, had 8 million people, and Tulle has maybe, up to now, has maybe 30,000 to 40,000 people. Time by time I go there just to remember the.
Where do you live in Toul?
In a very poor apartment. Very poor. The first one I remember where we live. First one, for example, has even no toilet. So the second one was a very narrow street, and we was living on the second or third floor. It was a building from the Middle Age, from the 1500 or 600 or something like that. The street was, I don't know, 2 meters maybe.
Were you allowed as children to go out of the house, or were you all the time in the flat in Toul?
In Tulle, most of the time outside. It was a very small apartment.
So did you play with, what I'm asking, the children, if you were outside, so did you play with the children? Did they know that you're Jewish or not?
No, they were very few Jewish family in Tulle. I remember that. My father used to know very well Davene, so he was a kind of religious leader in Tulle, kind of religious leader. This I remember. He was singing very nice. He was a chazan. Well, it was in a house.
Like a shtibel, no?
Yeah.
But it's interesting, if I understand, when your father and mother were in Paris, they didn't have a strong connection to Judaism and religion, and when in Tulle, he becomes...
I can say that. In Paris, he was not a leader because there was maybe leaders, maybe many rabbis, and probably, I don't know, I do not remember.
But he was a chazan, not a rabbi, am I right?
In Tulle, he was a chazan.
He was a chazan.
In Tulle, not in Paris. I do not remember if he was.
And how long are you in Tulle, all the family? How long all the family together in Tulle?
Very few, very small time.
How long?
Almost nothing.
A
I
few
remember,
days, a
for
few
example, my brother,
Which one?
André.
But
when
André wasn't born yet.
he wasn't born. He was born in 41.
Yes.
But
But let's say Zelig. Was Zelig with you at Tulle?
he was with us in Tulle, and very soon he was to the resistance, to the very soon he was to resistance. This is, I remember, maybe in 42 or before the German came. I remember the Germans in Tulle when they came.
But I'm interested in this time when you're in Tulle. Do you go there to school?
I go in school, yes. Zelig also go to school, I remember.
And also,
And Bernard and Léon.
you all go to the local
In
school.
the beginning, we went to school. This is I remember.
And your father, how does he work in Tulle in anything?
He was working. Obviously, he was very poor, but something he was doing.
So when I ask you about Tulle, what is the first thing that you think about? Family-wise?
Not really family-wise. I remember Tulle. No, I went to Tulle almost, I don't know, a few times. The last time was maybe 2 years ago or something like that. Just to remember.
Why do you leave? Does your mother, do you have more? You said that you were 4 children. In Tulle, do you have more brothers and sisters?
In Tulle, yes, I have 1 brother and 1 sister. They're born in Tulle.
So when your sister is born, does your mother go to the local hospital?
She went to hospital. My mother went to hospital, and she stayed in the hospital maybe for more than 1 year.
Why?
Para se esconder,
To hide
to
the maternity board.
and
And what happened?
a sister in the hospital, I don't know what I was saying.
Maternity.
Yes,
sisters.
sister.
The nuns.
They
The
know
nuns.
They know that my mother was a Jew, and they keep her much more time in the maternity, that we call.
Okay. And what happens with your father at that time? Where does he go? Where does he hide?
I think he stay home. In 1942, I think, he went to a camp in the same region.
When you say he went to the camp,
We took him to the
A
camp.
working camp or to the camp?
He was working in the camp. He was working, he was a kind of a leader in the camp, my father. I know that because it was a book on, he was mentioned as a kind of a leader.
So
and he was working for the Germans.
In
to
what?
make,
What did he do?
To make shirt and so this is why it was not, he went not in Germany. The camp was a transit camp. So if you was a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, you was sent to Germany from this camp. He was not lawyer, he was not doctor, he was tailor, and they needed tailors. So they keep him in the camp.
Okay. And your mother at that time, she's in hospital?
During a long time, she was in a hospital, 18 months, I think.
Okay.
She's in the hospital.
And if I understand, Zelig, where is Zelig? Zelig at that point at 42?
Zelig was in the resistance, was in the Maquis that way.
Do you know who introduced Zelig to the resistance?
Hmm?
Do you know who introduced Zelig to the resistance? And what about Leon? Where is he?
There was also in houses spread. He was in chez des paysans, hein, chez,
he was at the farmers, he was
Yes,
spread.
small
But I
farmers.
want to understand, you live in Toul. In 42, your father is sent to the camp.
yes,
Your mother gives birth and stays in the hospital, if I understand.
yeah.
At that point, Zelig is in the resistance. What happens to you?
We were spread to farmers, small farmers.
The 4 kids?
No, Huguette was not born. So my brother was in the resistance. So my younger brother was sent to a farmer almost from the beginning up to 2 years maybe. I still have a contact with those farmers. Léon and André was in other farmers.
And you, where was the farm?
In the same region.
Do you remember the name of the farm?
No, I just remember the farm where André was, one of them.
And what do you remember from the farmers?
You know, a few years ago, I went back and tried to find out the farm where I was. I couldn't reach. I write a letter to the mayor of the region. I asked a lot of people. I was willing to go there, but I couldn't find. I rent a car, driving around, and maybe it's here, maybe it's, but I couldn't find.
What do you remember from that time that you are with the farmers? Do you have any memories?
Yes, some. I was berger, did you say farm? I was, there was a very small farm. There had maybe 6 or 8 cows, and I was taking the cows to the land and bringing them back at noon time. This is what I remember. I was sleeping in the
Attic?
grenier, I don't know.
Yes, in the attic.
The barn.
Because the farm, there was very poor people. I remember I was 18 months in these farms, and they pay me 100 francs a month. So by the end, I took 1,800 francs and keep to my mother because it was no place to spend. But what I remember from this time, I was a danger because I know every resistant who was living around. I know where they was living. I saw the English plane parachuting.
Parachuting.
Parachute, sending them arms and sending them food. I know everything, so I was a danger, really. 8, 9 years old.
Did they change your name? Did you have another name, the
No.
same name? Did the family that you were there, did they know that you're Jewish?
Yes.
Why did they risk themselves, you think?
Well, because in France there was very many collaborators, but also many more non-collaborators. And normally people who was living in those farms do not like the Germans. So, but probably happened that many was denunciado, no?
Gave money.
I was lucky.
Now, what other memories do you have from that time that you're with the farmers? Did you go with them to church?
I was to church a few times, yes. I remember. I was singing with a
Choir?
choir.
Did you have friends?
No. They have one boy who was, maybe I was 9, 10 years. He was 18. So this is what I remember.
Did you go and visit your mother in the hospital?
No. I stayed in the farm all the time.
Did you see your brothers and sisters? Did you see your brothers?
My older brother, came to visit me 2, 3 times on a small motorcycle. He came 2, 3 times to visit me.
Only your older brother came to visit? And what about the brothers that were in other farms?
I know that my brother Bernard and Léon, there was in another other area, and this is what I remember.
Now, you talked of the idea that was there someone from the resistance that used to be in contact with you? Who took you to that family, to that specific family?
I think my older brother found this family for me. I think so. In fact, they find the Bouillac. My older brother was, well, he was relatively young. He was, 18 or something like that. 18, he was born in 25, so he was 17, 18. But at that time, at this age, he was very mature, very mature.
So he actually was the person because he was in the resistance, he was the person that found the families that took you over?
I can say yes. In fact, this is what's happened, because my father was not speaking French, so my mother also was almost not speaking French. So my older brother really helped us at this time. He was very important.
Do you know what your older brother did in the resistance? What was his job?
I think he was correspondent, the contact between different groups. I remember he has a small motorcycle, and he was going from one side to the other to make...
But my question is, if you know what group he was in the resistance. There were different groups. There was the communist, there was the Gaullist resistance, there was the left. You know? Do you know what group was he part of?
I don't know. I don't know. If I can say something, the region where I was living was very communist at that time. The whole region was.
So it could be that he was part of the
It could be
communists
that,
because they
yeah.
had kind of
Chebouillat
different
was a
parts.
communist. I remember that. It was very modern at that time to be a communist.
So how long are you at that family?
I think 18 months.
18 months. But I'm trying to understand, did you need to uncover something about yourself? Because you actually knew Yiddish, didn't you? And you knew, were you told to be careful about things that did people from the village understand that you're Jewish? Or
No, I was speaking French fluently. I was not speaking. I understand Yiddish. I speak more or less, but I was always talking in French. I was studying in French school. I was speaking
also
French.
there you were when you were there?
No, I was not at school there.
That's what I'm asking.
During those time, I was not at school.
So with your father, you didn't have any contact?
I do not have any contact with my father at that time.
And neither your mother, only Zelig,
Only Zelig.
that came 3 times.
Yeah, every few months he went to visit me. 2, 3 times, maybe 4.
Now you said that you saw everything that was happening. What do you mean you saw everything that was happening?
I saw, but I was not really realizing what was going on. I know that the German was an enemy. This is what I know. The Gestapo was an enemy. This is what I know, and but I was 9, 10 years, so I really do not realize what is going on.
So you were there till the end, till when? Till the end of the war?
Up to, well, the end of the war start in south of France. So in France, the end of the war was maybe by end of 43.
For you, when was the end of the war, and how do you understand that the war is over?
I remember that I saw the Germans, the German with a motorcycle, with trucks, going away. This is, everyone knows that at that time. There was leaving, but they was leaving the south of France. Leaving the north, it takes them maybe, I don't know, a year more.
Yes, but I'm talking about where you were. You saw the Germans leaving, and who came instead?
Nothing. Came instead French administration. So.
Now, when...
I was almost, again, I was 10, 11 years old, so I do not know really what's happened.
No, but I'm not interested in what happened, in what you experienced. That's what remains. Do you still, okay, they went out. Does this family that you stay with, do they say something about it?
No.
Are there any kind of demonstrations or something that is happening in the street?
No, I remember that was German lives in Tulle. It was a I don't know if you heard about. It's an area that there was very, I don't know if you heard about Oradour-sur-Glane,
The,
where they took 100, I think 100 hostages and they burned the church. This is the area where I was living. But in fact, I know that in 43, after when I was starting to leave the region, they went north. You probably know.
but I'm interested what happens to you. I know what happened, but I'm trying. You stay on with your family, with a family, or you go back to your parents?
No, I stay with the family, I think, up to end 43.
Okay.
And then I went back to my family.
So everyone goes back? All the brothers and sisters, mother, father?
I do not
You
remember
don't
exactly.
remember. Okay. But, and where do you live when you're together?
We live in Tulle.
Toul? You go back to Toul.
Go back to Tulle. This is I remember.
And does your father start his life to remake his life there?
Well, they was living together at this time. But in, I think, beginning 44, they get divorced. They get divorced and my mother went back to Paris.
What was your full name of your mother?
It's Dina Shapiro.
Dina Shapiro. Was she also connected to the resistance, your mother?
No.
No. So your mother goes back to live in Paris and you stay with your father in
No,
Toul?
they get divorces for other reasons. And so she went back to Paris. I remember she sold the apartment, who was a very nice apartment where we were living, and she lived in a small apartment.
And where do you live and your brothers, your four brothers?
I was the only one who stayed with my father.
Ah.
They get divorced and
So Zelig, where is
Zelig
he?
went with my mother, Leon, Bernard, everyone was with my mother, and I stay in Tulle with my father.
And what do you do? What, do you go to?
I went to school.
You go to school. Was it difficult for you to go to school after the time that you didn't spend in school?
No, I probably lose a year, probably, I don't remember it. I was not a good student anyway.
So till when do you stay in Toul? Till when are you in Toul? Till when do you stay in Toul?
When?
Till when? Till what year?
I think up to 40, up to 48. I went to a school. I don't know why, but I went to agriculture school. I stayed there for 2 years, from 46 to 48. And then my older brother, he went to Israel before me. He went to Israel in 47, in a French kibbutz, not far from Jerusalem.
Which one?
Neve Ilan. He went there, and 1 year later I took a boat in.
Okay, but I want to understand, when you are in Toul, do you hear when the war is over in May
Yes.
45?
Yes, I remember that.
What happens?
Big demonstration until everyone was very happy. This is I remember.
Now, when you live in Toul with your father while the rest of the brothers are in Paris, am I right?
My mother went in Paris with, I think, the two youngest, and the other went in houses with youngest.
In that time, when you are in Toul living with your father, do you hear about Zionist ideas?
About what?
Zionist, about Palestine, before your brother leaves?
No, I just hear when my older brother came to Israel.
In what kind of organization did your older brother come to Israel? How did he get a certificate?
Well, his life in the community, I think, started with what we call in France, éclaireur de France. Éclaireur means scout boys. I think this is where he started to understand better the Jewish life. I went also a certain time in the Jewish scout.
In Toul there were scouts?
No.
No.
When I went back to Paris.
So in 48, you are 16.
I was 16. I went in an agriculture school, internal school, where I lived all the time in the school.
Like a boarding school. It's a boarding school.
Kiki boarding.
Internet.
Interno, yes. So I lived there for 2 years.
Where was the boarding school?
It's about...
In Toul? In Courage?
No, in the region.
Okay. And is it Jewish or no?
No, nothing Jewish. I was, I
So when
think, the
you
only
are-
Jew.
You're the only Jew in the boarding
think
school?
so.
So when you're in the boarding school, do you hear what is happening in Israel?
No.
Do you hear when you don't know anything?
Don't know anything.
And when you're...
I was there, I don't know if but because my father do not know what to do with me, so put me in an internal school. This is nothing abnormal. And also you have to remember, my father at that time was 40 years old, so maybe he wants his have some private life.
Yes.
Probably.
But when you go to the boarding school, do you feel, you say that you were the only Jewish child. Do you feel any problem with that?
No.
No. So when you know...
I remember that we had a professor, and once he asked, this is, I remember well, it's worse to hear that. He asked, is any Jew in this class? I was willing to say, yes, I am, but I do not do that. This is, I remember very well. I remember even his name.
Why did he ask it?
And then he tell us, well, if you, then he said, the student was what, 14 years old. Well, if you have a shop and you want to buy something, you will, for the same, you always give preference to the shop who are not Jews. This is I remember very well.
And this is after the war. That's after the war.
This was after the war. I remember that it makes me feel so bad when he said that I do not know if I have to react or not. I do not react. I don't know if I do well or not, but I do not react. This is I remember.
Interesting.
Because
So when your brother, let's say, tells you that he goes to Palestine at 47.
My older brothers, they support very much my mother,
Okay.
always.
And your mother also went to Israel?
No.
No. So what makes you go to Israel, to Palestine?
I really don't know, but I was, at that time I have
When do you go in 48? What month?
to Kiryat Bialik was my first.
Yes, but
When I went in Paris, then
when did you go to Paris? You didn't tell us.
I think it was in 47. I live in a Jewish, with other Jewish kids who have the father, the mother was.
Where was it?
It was close to Paris. It's close to Versailles.
What was the name?
The city was Jouy-en-Josas. I don't know if you heard that before. It was not far from Versailles. I was in school in Versailles.
And it was a Jewish.
This community in Jouy-en-Josas was Jewish. But in Versailles, I was in a regular school. This I remember. And so my older brother came in Israel in 47 with a French group in Neve-Ilan. The founder of Neve-Ilan are French. And then in 48, with a group in New Paris, they decided to send us to Israel. It was the time of the Exodus.
In what boat did you go to Israel?
From Marseille.
From Marseille, what one? What name was the
I
boat?
do not remember the name, but I
Was it
remember we made
Shara?
a stopover in Italy. We stay, I think, a day or two in Cyprus.
In Cyprus? You were sent to Cyprus? Or you went?
No, the ship made a stopover in Cyprus. And I remember that it was dangerous to come to Haifa. So we arrived. There was at that time, I think it was not very safe to. It was, I think, in end of 47 or beginning 48. Maybe in 47, I think. 6, yeah, maybe it was 47. So I know that I came in Israel before the declaration of the State of Israel. Not many time, but some time before.
So do you remember when you saw the beach of Haifa? Do you remember it?
I remember. It was a big...
And then how did you get into Israel?
Hmm?
How did you get into Israel?
How
did you get into Israel? Because it wasn't legal yet.
We went from Haifa, we went in Hedera.
You didn't go to Sha'ar Aliyah? Don't remember.
We was all the same kids. We went to Hedera first. I think it was by bus or by truck, I do not remember. And then from Hedera we went to the French group, I don't know, 15, 20. We went to Kiryat Bialik in Mossad Ahava. You heard about that?
Yes.
So this is, it was Dati, no? At that time.
And what were your first impressions of Israel?
I do not remember.
So?
I do not remember.
You don't remember. And do you remember anything from the Mossad Ahava?
I remember a little bit that I do not like to go to the synagogue, but it was a religious
Setting.
yeah.
And then do you see your brother Zelig at that time?
Yes, my brother Zelig at that time. It was not so easy to traveling. We do not have any money, so we was making tramp to go from one part to the other. But I saw him a few times, not many.
And what happens with your father? Does he remarry your father?
He continued to live alone in Tulle, and he lived all the time. I don't know if alone, but he lived in Tulle. And he died in 1975.
And what about your mother? Does she remarry?
No, my mother, I went from Ahava, I went to Colombia.
How long were you in Israel?
I was 7 years.
Did you take part in the independence war?
No, I was too young, I remember. I went, but I was below 16. So I was going to the Gadna, but they do not take me.
So all these 7 years, did you live in Ahava?
No, I lived 1 year in Ahava. I was supposed to live 2 years in Ahava. But after 1 year, I was, como diz, expulso.
זרקו אותו,
Okay.
expelled.
Expelled.
And they
then,
sent me to Givim.
what was it, a kibbutz?
Givim.
Kibbutz Gevim?
Kibbutz Givim.
In the south?
In north of Negev.
Yeah.
They sent me there because they have some contact with old student who was living in Ahava, went to Givim.
Okay.
And so said, send me to Givim. So I went to Givim. And a year later, after the period of the Mossad, the regular period, all the French went to Givim also. So,
And so your brother also came to Gevim?
no, only me.
No. No, but you said that all the French went to Gevim.
No, the French who was in Mossad Ahava
Went to Gevim. Okay.
went to Givim.
Do
So
you have any memories from Gevim?
I have some memory from Givim. I lived in Givim for 6 years. And then I never was a very good sportsman because I do not have the physique to be, but I like to swim and I was, let's say, a good swimmer.
Okay.
So, and I went to swim from Israel. I went in Italy once. I was in Holland.
You were in
In
the swimming group?
Yes, in the Brazilian, in the Israeli
Swimming.
selection.
But did you when you are in Gevim, do you feel part of? Do you
No,
feel
I was training swimming in Ruchama. In Givim, they do not have
a swimming pool.
swimming pool at that time. Now they have, but not at that time. So I was training in Ruchama.
But did you feel part of the society? Did you feel?
At that time, yes.
You felt Israeli, or did you
I-
still feel French?
No, I never feel really French. I feel like Israeli. I was traveling, coming to tramp, always to tramp. I do not have any money, so everything was made by tramp.
So till what age were you in Gevim?
I arrived in Givim in beginning in 48. So I was 16, maybe close to 17. And I live in Givim for 6 years. And then I was 22, and at that time come un trainador, dit tu sais, un trainador, un coach from the Olympic United States team, and I was invited.
So you were a very good swimmer. It's not
I don't know if I was very good, but I was
You
invited.
were invited as an Israeli swimmer
Yes.
to the Olympics?
But
Okay.
I remember, this was 70 years ago, so
Still?
it's not the same today.
Okay.
They are much better than we was. And I was one of the invited.
You were invited to go and live there, or just?
No. To make a training for, I don't know, 3-4 weeks or something like that.
Where?
I think it was somewhere in north of Israel. Maybe the center, I don't know. But anyway, I was invited. So kibbutz made an asefa. I asked to. And I was, let's say, maybe it's not very nice what I say, but I was important in the kibbutz. I was...
You were a figure.
I was Merakez Arefet. So at that time we were still... and they do not give me the authorization to go to this training because they need me. So I say, I will go anyway. So if you go, you get out from the kibbutz. So I say, okay, but I go out from the kibbutz. And at that time, in between, I was committed to a job to make good money as a tractorist in Negev. At that time, Negev was almost a desert. So I accepted the job. I know how to handle a tractor also. But by coincidence, one of my uncles from Colombia came and asked me if I want to go to Colombia. For what? If you buy me a ticket and clothes, why not? So, okay, come to Colombia.
What year was it that you go to Colombia?
Eh?
At what year do you go to Colombia?
I was at that time, I think, 21, 22.
And what was the name of the uncle that told you to come to Colombia?
Mendel. In Colombia, his name was Manuel, but his name in Poland was Mendel.
So at what
Mendel
year?
Shapiro.
At what year do you go to Colombia?
It was in 1955. So I started to, after a very few weeks, in the meantime, the sisters bring my mother from France to Brazil.
What
Miss-
sister? The sister of your uncle?
No, of my mother.
Yeah.
The sister of
But
my
your
uncle,
uncle also, Mendel, is also a brother of your mother.
yes.
Okay, I just want to say, so the sisters actually bring your mother to
Brazil. And I was in Colombia. So after a few weeks, my uncle told me, I think your place is to be with your mother.
because you were not a lot with your mother, because you stayed with your father.
No. My father, I leave my father.
Okay.
I-
So you go to Colombia to your mother?
No.
To Brazil, sorry.
Then my uncle in Colombia asked me, he told me, well, Jacques, Jacob or Jacques, I think your place is with your mother. from Colombia. I told him, I have no problem. Buy me a ticket, I go to Brazil. So he bought me a ticket and I come to Brazil with my mother. This is
how you got to Brazil.
This is why I went to Brazil.
So we're talking about the 50s.
This was in 55.
How was the Jewish community, where in Brazil do you live?
Sao Paulo.
São Paulo. In the 50s, how was the Jewish community in São Paulo?
At that time, the Jewish community was, still today, they are very close. In Brazil, they say that we have 120,000 Jews. Probably 50% are living in São Paulo, maybe 60%. Maybe 20% or 25% are living in Rio. And the rest is...
Scattered around.
Yeah, it's most on southeast of Brazil, not in Amazon. Obviously, you have Jews everywhere, but most of them are in southeast.
So could you share with me your personal life? Do you get married in Brazil?
Again?
Do you get married there?
I get married in Brazil twice.
Your first wife, what was her name?
Rosa.
Was she Jewish, Brazilian?
Jewish.
From where?
Also from Poland.
From Poland she was?
The father, she was born in Poland. Yes, she went to Brazil, she was 2 years old.
And you have how many children from her?
2.
And then you got married again?
Then I divorced, and maybe 2 years later I know my wife, and she was viuva.
Widow.
Sorry?
A widow, almana.
But Jewish? She's also Jewish?
No, she's not Jewish. She has 2 small girls.
Children?
And we got married. Then later the girl got converted themselves in Jewish.
Really? Your girls, they converted to be Jewish?
Do not say something. They do that because they was in the Jewish
community,
so the choice to.
And then you have another child together?
And then we have another child together. You get everything, bar mitzvah. The girls also, they were.
Did you keep your Jewish identity always?
Yes, absolutely.
Before we'll go to the last part, I understand that you succeeded very well in Brazil. You said you weren't a good student when you were young, but you succeeded very well. Do you want to tell us a bit, something about your companies?
Well, as most of the people who are entrepreneurs, I start obviously very small and work a lot and have some lucky and.
So what do you have today? What's your biggest success?
My biggest success is.
Do you have a few companies?
We have 3 companies in Brazil.
In what?
Well, one is in plastics, one is petrochemical, and one is distribution. Import, export, distribution. We have in biggest city in Brazil, 7th biggest city. We have a warehouse. We have.
And if I were to ask you, from where are you? Where is your home?
Where is my home?
Yes, your home, not your real home, your home here.
I am really divided
Between?
between France, Brazil, and Israel. This is where I live. Obviously, Israel, I am really feeling Jew. This is
And how did the idea that you were parted from your family and in the time of the war you lived with these family, how did it affect your life, do you think? Do you think about it a lot? About
what really?
the years of the war, do you think about it?
No, I do not think anymore about that.
Now I understand that 15 or 17 years ago, you, Andre, the family that Andre was, they received righteous upon the nations. You were in touch with that family?
I make them.
So how come?
Vera helped me, but we make that.
And what about the family that you stayed with? You weren't in touch with them?
I still in touch with her.
The family that you stayed?
Yes. No, the family where Andre stayed.
No, okay, but I'm asking, what about the family you stayed with?
During the war,
Yes, did you?
I tried to find the family I couldn't find. I told you I rent a car.
Yes,
run
but
away.
when you were younger, did you try to find them? No, I'm just answering. I don't understand. I'm trying to understand how you're in touch with the family that Andre. What was the? How come? Because he was the youngest. How come you know?
I really don't know, but I always stayed in contact. Up to now, I help them. It's one, the daughter, she has maybe younger 6 months from me, something like that, or maybe less. Up to date, I still help her during the last 40 years, maybe.
Really? You feel responsible?
Yes, I feel that we have some, in French we say reconnaissance.
Reconnection, kind of.
I spoke with her once every 2-3 months, but every month she received some help and she needed. So I am very happy with that.
Now, when you live with your father, when you're young, and you live with your father in Toul after the war, do you speak of what had happened? Do you speak with your father?
I speak with my father normally.
But did he tell you what had happened to him in the camp when at the time of war?
He did not tell me. I know that because for other circumstances, I came in contact with a writer from the region. And his wife, she's a Jew. So we came in contact. I do not remember how, but we...
So not your father told you, that author told you, if I understand.
He told me more than my father.
Okay. And when you're in Brazil with your mother, does your mother speak about what had happened in the years of war?
No, let's continue with my father a little bit. And where he was in a camp in France, it's the same region. I was there, and we offer a statue where the camp was built, and it was a very nice ceremony. Remember?
You went to where the camp was. Where was it, the camp?
In a small city that's made, the name is Sudey. And this is, it was, when I go to Gorez, I just pass there too.
And with your mother or your brothers, did you speak about the years of the war?
No.
Never.
No, because I just, I know all this story, 10 years ago maybe?
What made you suddenly
No,
research the story of what happened?
because this writer, he called my Denise,
Your second wife or your first
no,
wife?
my sister, my
Niece.
sister-in-law, no?
Your niece.
Eh?
Your niece called Dina. He called
No.
Dina, and Dina said, "Well, that's my uncle you're looking for." And she
Okay,
told-
but only 10 years, what I'm trying to understand,
No.
only 10 years ago you got interest?
I don't know.
25 years
he
ago.
came in contact with Denise,
Okay,
this writer.
yeah.
It's Paul Estrade, and my sister-in-law, no?
Niece.
Denise, he tell this writer that they have to speak with me, so they give me the address.
And that was 25 years ago?
No, this
Yes,
was maybe,
I have all the pictures. I have.
no, less than 25.
Yeah, then was a baby. She's 24.
No. This, they came in contact with me. It was maybe 15 years ago.
Okay, but that was the first time that you were interested in what happened in the past, am I right?
No, always I was interested, but I really started to understand better after this contact.
And at that point, was that the time that you went to Yad Vashem to put Andrei's family that helped him to be righteous upon the nations? What I'm trying to understand, was that the time that you went and talked about the family that kept Andrei? Was that the time that
No.
Before?
I always be in touch with this family
Okay, and
from the first day on, including during the war.
in what ways were you in touch with the family during the war?
When I remember there was maybe 10 or 15 kilometers from Tulle. I was living there. And time by time I was going to visit them and to stay there.
When you were in the other family, you went to them?
When I was in Tulle,
When you went to with your father?
yes. And always I come back with some eggs or with some bread, or, because
What did it mean to you? What did it do to you that they received the righteous upon the nations? What did it mean for you? Did it, what?
at that time nothing.
Okay.
For me it was, everything was natural.
Not true. What do you think that the French were in the World War II? There's a big debate about what was the Polish, what was the French, what were they in the war? Were they collaborators? Were they anti-Semitic? What were the French in your eyes at the time of World War II?
They was anti-Semites. In French, at that time, I heard that in school, salupin. Salupin, that means salads mean dirty Jew or something like
But
that.
you did, not to you. Was it
To me.
To you?
to me at the school, in the school. The French, no, they are anti-Semites. But worse than Jews, they do not like Muslims.
That's now, that's today.
That's now.
But I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about World War II. What was their job in what happened? That's what I'm asking. Do you understand what I'm asking?
I do not remember.
Do you want to try to say it in French?
Qual era a atmosfera dos franceses na época que você estava lá?
We have both. We know that there once was collaborator, that we call, but I can say we was lucky. There are many who was denunciated to the French Gestapo. My mother was very hábil, né? Como que diz? Smart or whatever, to put us in different. The initiative was more from my mother than from my father. She was very active, very.
Do you encounter anti-Semitism in Brazil?
I do not feel that in Brazil. Brazilian are, people in Brazil are, you have so many races and religions in Brazil that doesn't make any difference. Black, white, or Muslim, or Jew, or maybe I am lucky. Everyone respects me very much in Brazil.
Today we are in 2024. In another 10 years, something like that, there will not be Holocaust survivors that live among us, or there'll be few. What do you think is the best way still to remember the Holocaust?
I do not think about it.
Okay.
The first time that...
It's fine, that's an answer. I have another question then. We are here today in 2024. There's the war going on. A lot of people compare then what was happening now to the Holocaust. People compare what is happening now in Israel and what happened in the 7th of October to the Holocaust. How do you feel with it?
Our president told that also in Brazil. I do not have the same feeling. Definitely not.
What does it mean?
That means the Holocaust was won. Nothing, as far as I know, in the Jewish communities happened. It's happened in Africa sometime, maybe in Asia, but nothing can be compared with the Holocaust. Mm. If you ask a normal Brazilian, he will ask you, what is the Holocaust?
And what are you the most proud, when you look back at your life, what are you most proud about?
I am proud to be a Jew. I don't know if it's because a relatively successful career professionally, but I feel respect from the people who are close or not close to me.
Where are your family buried? Where is your mother buried? Your mother, where is she buried? Her grave. Your mother.
In Brazil,
Where?
in the Jewish cemetery.
Your father?
My father is he was in Tulle, and my brother, who was living in south of France, in Grasse, he changed him to Grasse in a Jewish cemetery.
Leon, where is he buried?
Leon, he is in Paris. Eh?
Leon.
Leon? In Grasse, with my father.
Zelig?
Zelig is in Israel.
Bernard?
Bernard is in Versailles, no?
Yeah, Paris.
Versailles with his wife.
André?
He in Israel.
And your sister?
In France, in Brazil.
Brazil. So you're very... I would like to conclude asking you the question. If you have a message, a personal message to pass on to anyone that will see this interview of you, of being a Jewish boy that was born in Paris, that while the Holocaust actually was in the south of France, do you have any message to pass on?
Well, as a message I have, I think it's a message from any Jew. To remain Jew and to not to forget the Holocaust. This is in a very few words.
Can I ask you, why are you giving the interview? Why didn't you give the interview before?
I ask you, why?
You ask Yad Vashem or I ask you? Were you interested in giving, let's say, 20 years ago an interview?
Well, this is an initiative from my nephew.
Yes.
I was not expecting that. I just know that 2 days ago, or yesterday. She insists that I was not willing to have this interview.
So was it okay for you in the far future to leave the world without commemorating?
No, I am happy with this interview. I to take this initiative, I will never do that.
Could never.
But I have to thank my nephew
So
and you.
So Jacques, we are concluding now. Is there anyone or anything you want to talk about that you didn't mention in the interview that you want to document?
I would like to have a copy.
That's fine. Okay, so I thank you very, very much, and we will go now to the photos, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, really. After the interview, I appreciate it.
I was waiting to hear that.
זה האימא שלי, זו האח זליק, זו ליאון, האח, ברנרד, אנדרה, אחותי יוגט, וזה אמי, יעקב.
וזאת אימא. וזאת אימא.
וזאת אימא. זה איפה שאנחנו חיים בטול. זו אחותי. זה אני בקיבוץ, בקיבוץ גבים. היה לפני, מתי? 75 שנים. זה המשפחה איפה שהאח שלי היה למלחמה.
מה שמם?
שמם בויק, משפחת בויק.
והם חסידי אומות עולם?
כן.
תגיד שהם חסידי אומות עולם.
תגיד, eles receberam do Yad Vashem.
כן, זו שקיבלה את...
האות של יד ושם.
חסידי אומות עולם,
כן.
בסדר. עכשיו בוא נעשה...
מי זה שם?
הילדים של ברנר, תלמה וסרג'. ברנר היה כנראה שם, אבל לקח את הילדים. תלמה וסרג'. אצל משפחת בויק.
זה משפחת בויק עם ברנרד, אני לא זוכר מזה.
ברנרד אחיך, כן?
כן.
אוקיי. אתה יכול להוציא את העט משם? תוציא את היד רגע.